Yo, what's shaking? It's a breaking news edition of the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. We're the Men in Black. Geoff Ketchum, Anwar Richardson, here to talk to you in the middle of the day on a Wednesday. Johntay Cook, the second wide receiver out of DeSoto, has committed to the Longhorns. He's the number national 52 overall ranked player in the Rivals 100 number. I've got him ranked as the number 5 guy in the state myself. He's a big deal. He is committed to the Longhorns after it seems like we've been waiting on this for about a week, Anwar. Your initial response and reaction to the Longhorns locking down, at least, I don't know that locking down is the right word because I don't know that Johntay likes the recruiting process a lot, but he seems locked into the Longhorns. Your initial reaction?
I mean, it's a huge catch. I mean, and I know we'll get into, your LSR, like you talked about where he's ranked, and of course in the state of Texas. But, when you start talking about just the impact that he has, and, I know we'll break down, but when you think about the kind of receiver that Steve Sarkisian wants, and we just start thinking about speed, Johntay has it. I mean, his highlights, they just jump off. I mean, it's so easy to see his ability to get separation, get behind defenders, ability to make cuts, go underneath routes. I mean, I think, I've watched his highlights, a bunch of them. I feel like there isn't a route that he can't run. When you start thinking about how Steve Sarkisian wants that kind of speed on the field, he gets another, dynamic playmaker that's added to the mix.
Yeah, he's a guy that's built, I think, in the Jordan Addison, Xavier Worthy mode. 6 foot, 175 pounds. You're getting high-end explosiveness. You know that you're getting exquisite ball skills. You know that this is a guy that can play, I think, on the outside and the inside. So there's versatility there that you can lean on a lot like Xavier Worthy. If you need him to play inside, he can go inside. If you want to match him up outside, he certainly has the ability to do that. And then I think you mentioned it. He's a guy that you can throw the ball to just about anywhere on the field, and he can score with it. And Steve Sarkisian is looking for as many guys as he can get that they can just throw the ball to, and then 7 points get put up on the scoreboard. That's great coaching. When you can just out-athlete and just out everything the opponent to the extent that one play gets you in the end zone. Another thing that this does, like there's a wider conversation to be had. The Longhorns now, with the commitment of Cook, are the number 1 team in the Rivals team rankings. They've now moved beyond Ohio State. They now have as many high 4-star and 5-star commitments combined as they did in last year's class, which finished 5th in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get the discussion of what is this class going to be, is it going to be top 5? Those are questions that we're always going to get. I think the best way to answer that question as we're talking about moving forward is that it already has more elite of the elite recruits than last year's class. And we know how last year's class finished. So this is a class that's got a chance to be potentially significantly better than last year's top 5 class when you look at the highest of the high-end prospects that they have a chance to bring in.
Yeah, it's almost starting to seem and resemble to a certain degree. And I don't want to go too far off the deep end, and I don't want to pour too much burnt orange Kool-Aid on a Wednesday afternoon. And no, I'm not going to do a shot. I'll save that for my show this evening. But you know what reminds me? Ketch, what we've seen over the last several years, and especially since I've been here through my tenure, is that what we've seen, Ketch, is that Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson just coming in and picking the guys that they want, like a Johntay would be, and say, that's what we're going to get. And those guys go out of state. And what we're kind of starting to see a little bit of when we would start to see coaches talking about, and then all the coaches that I've covered have talked about trying to put that wall around the state of Texas and keep some of those elite prospects in. I got to go look through these Texas rankings, Ketch, but it seems to me we're seeing more of the elite prospects, especially those from this state, saying, you know what, I am going to stay home. I don't necessarily need to go somewhere else. I'm not saying that there aren't going to be guys going out of state, but a guy like Johntay, if you would have told me, a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago or more, what is the odds that he stays inside? I'm like, I don't know, because it's sometimes not appealing to get these guys to stay in state. That thing ends up being the impressive thing to me, not only the ranking, but then kind of putting a shield and kind of a barrier around some of these elite prospects who are starting, and then of course being able to handpick some of the guys outside of the state. The thing that guys have talked about for years, wanting to get the elite prospects in state, handpick out of state, that's what I'm starting to see a little bit more of now.
Well, and I think that's a 1-2 Texas A&M combo. And
yes,
even though Johntay Cook didn't list Texas A&M among his final 3 finalists when it was all said and done, it had been a Texas A&M battle for a while. We all remember the videos that Johntay took early in the process when he was looking for trophies. And, both schools need some work in the football trophy accumulating department. Let's bring in Jason Sukamel from orangebloods.com here into the show. Jason, we've, basically given our initial thoughts of what stands out about Johntay Cook committing to the Longhorns today, while also mentioning that the Longhorns now #1 ranked team in the Rivals rankings. It's still early, but from a elite of the elite recruitment standpoint, a year ago they signed 1 5-star and 2 high 4-stars. That's kind of where they're at right now with the Rivals ranking. So that's what we've laid out there. Feel free to jump in and give us your initial thoughts and take us anywhere in the conversation you want to go.
Yeah, I'm very much in the race for Anthony Hill, another 5-star, and Malik Muhammad, other high 4-stars. So Cedric Baxter could eventually be a high 4-star if he climbs the rankings like I think he might. Big day for Texas. We've been kind of waiting on this one. I mean, Johntay, I can say it now. He told me on Friday he was going to commit on Monday. So we've been kind of anxiously waiting on pins and needles, if you will, kind of been handcuffed to our computers waiting for him to announce. But I heard you say it before y'all brought me in, Ketch. He did have a top 3 of Michigan, Oregon, and Texas. But this really, I get it, that was his top 3, but this really was a Texas and Texas A&M battle. I'm not saying Michigan and Oregon weren't factors, but I think everybody believed it would come down to either Texas or Texas A&M. He was never going to leave the state, most likely. So just a tremendous pickup for Texas. And Johntay is the type, I mean, Arch is the ultimate guy that you can build a class around, right? Well, Johntay has that same kind of personality. He's already on Twitter, on social media saying, hey, now I can put this out there. Let's get Anthony Hill down to Austin. And Anthony Hill retweeted it. So great pickup from a talent perspective. You mentioned it, #1 class in the country right now Texas has after this commitment. They're going to have to work to hold on to that spot because other teams are going to keep charging up those rankings too. But, if Texas can close on some of these guys we've talked about and maybe add another 5-star, who knows, maybe a couple of them, I mean, they might be looking at the possibility of landing the top recruiting class in the country. So big development today, and just Arch committed less than a week ago, man. Feels like forever ago, but 6 days ago he committed. So been just an amazing run, like anything unlike anything I've ever seen, honestly, in a 1 week span.
16 days ago, the Longhorns had 5 commitments.
And I think they were ranked
later, they have 17.
Yeah, they were ranked like 20-something in the team rankings, right? Now they're #1 ranked recruiting class in the country. So just remarkable what's happening.
With more to come.
Absolutely.
Potentially this weekend is going to be more.
Yeah. Yep. So.
And Anwar, what's really interesting is that while the Longhorns are in a position where they can do things like screenshot that they're the #1 class in the country, that doesn't hurt when you're in the middle of some momentum like they're in. That's an even bigger boost of momentum because we've covered enough Longhorn recruiting classes, and we've seen Longhorn recruiting classes that have finished #1 in the country, that when you can start saying, come join the #1 recruiting, A&M did it last year. Once that idea gets planted, it becomes very useful for a coaching staff that has it. It's not an accident that Jeff Banks retweeted the Rivals.com. Adam Gorney tweeted out that Texas was #1 in the rankings. The very first person to retweet that. The very first person. to retweet Adam Gorney, who's Texas is the #1 ranked class in the country right now, was Geoff Banks.
Oh, that's fun. I gotta see
that stuff. They notice and they use it, and it's not something that we've mentioned. At least Jason, I got up to #3 with the commitment yesterday, but like the idea of the #1 class hadn't really hit my brain literally until I had looked to see if they'd moved up at all, and then you mentioned it in our Slack channel, and then once I saw it with my own eyes, it was kind of the first time I'd thought about this recruiting class in that kind of context in any shape or way.
I figured with Johntay's addition, they would move up. I didn't know that they would surpass Ohio State. So, but yeah, right now, 2,087 points on the rivals.com rankings, how it's calculated, compared to 2079 for Ohio State. The third highest is Notre Dame at 1911. So almost 200 points higher than Notre Dame. Now, Texas does have 3 more commitments than Ohio State, so that pads the numbers. As I said, there's still work to be done for Texas if they want to hold on to that top ranked spot. But yeah, you're right, Ketch. It kind of surprised me when I just happened to look at it after I switched Johntay to committed in the database. I was like, oh, let's see what their ranking is, and I figure they'd probably be 2 or maybe still 3, but have crept up. And then I was like, oh my goodness, they're #1 in the recruiting rankings. So reason to celebrate certainly for Texas and the Texas coaches and Texas fans. But if they want to hold on to that #1 ranking, and they can. I mean, they've got a lot of Rivals 100 guys they're still very much in on. I mean, there's a couple linebackers, Braylon Shelby, Darian Gillette, Anthony Hill, I mentioned, the 5-star linebacker. I mean, they very well could finish #1 if they can close on a lot of these guys that we think they are going to close with.
Even just a couple of more commitments this week would at least buy them some distance between them and the rest of the field. So even if they didn't finish #1, they could hold that title long enough to be able to do some good with it. Anwar, I want to come back to you.
If you're the interim champion in boxing, you're still the champion, right? You still get to sound the interim champ until someone takes the title from you.
Well, like I said, screenshots can go a long way. And it's like, Anwar, when I wrote my book back in 2008, for 2 days, it was like in the top 3. It was on one of the days, it was the #1 sports book on Amazon.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it only lasted 2 days. But I was still able to take a screenshot and for the rest of my life be able to say my Amazon.com best-selling book. Doesn't matter how long sometimes, like you said, the interim title thing lasts. Sometimes it just has to last long enough for you to take a picture of yourself with the belt. You know what I mean? Jason, you just saw Johntay. You mentioned talking to him on Friday and finding out really about the commitment 5 days ago. Give us your in-person scouting review of him from just less than a week ago. In my mind, he performed well enough at the 7-on-7. I think in the next rankings go around, he's going to be a guy that's talked about for a 5-star ranking.
He should be. I think he should be. And I think I said that. I mean, I'm not saying that because he committed. I said that previously a week or two ago. I think maybe on our modcast or something, someone asked how to rank those receivers. And I think he's clearly the best receiver in the state. And there are some pretty good receivers in the state. I mean, every time I see Johntay in any setting, he's making plays. And not only is he making plays, it's effortless with him. And he just kind of makes guys look silly a little bit. I mean, he did it at state 7-on-7 last week, which is a very competitive environment. I mean, there's really not a weakness in his game. He's not the biggest receiver. He's right at about 6 foot. He's not necessarily the fastest receiver. He runs great routes, so he's got great footwork. He's deceptive in his route running, deceptive, I would almost say, with his speed. And seriously, I feel like when I watch Johntay Cook, you can almost throw it up to him every single play, and he's going to go up and get it or have a really good chance of going up and getting it. And that's kind of what DeSoto did a lot in winning the state championship in that state 7-on-7. There was one game in the semifinals. They're down. It's the last play of the game. They need a touchdown. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to throw it to Johntay Cook. He makes a contested catch in the end zone. They win, and they go on to – I think that was the quarterfinals, actually. They go on to the semifinals and then the finals and win. But just an elite receiver. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. he is right now, as I pull up his profile, Rivals has him number 52 nationally, and he did move up. He was 60th at the previous rankings. He's been as high as 44. I'd be mildly surprised if he didn't get back to that 44 and probably escalate even higher than that. Just really no weakness in his game, man. He's ultra confident. He's got the mindset you want. I say he's deceptive. I mean, his route running, I mean, guys just can't stick close to him. I mean, when he gets open, he's usually open by a pretty wide margin. I'm talking 10 yards behind the guy closest to him. He can run after the catch, just a do-it-all receiver. And you're right. I think he challenges for 5-star status before the rankings cycle is finished.
Anwar, what's interesting and important about Cook is that when we talk about a lot of the commitments, that Texas is up to 17. And with a lot of them, you say, okay, well, 2025, 2026, like they might be 3 or 4 year projects. Cook is going to walk into a receiver room next year where Xavier Worthy is a senior, and it remains to be, or excuse me, as a junior, but will be his last season in all probability. It's hard to know what the wide receiver room will look like in 2023 in that first year. In theory, everybody could come back, or there could be some room. But I know this, in 2024, right about the time Arch, in theory, might be taking over the reins of the quarterback battle, Cook's got a chance to be the number one receiver in this program, probably by year 2 at the latest.
Well, yeah, and then you start thinking about. I was trying to give me a second to think about some of the guys, but think about the guys that they've already signed that are going to be added to that. So you're talking about your Brennan Thompsons. They're there. There's Cook. Jason, who's the guy who's the other receiver that they have in this class right now in the
Jonah Wilson is a commitment in this class. Ryan Niblett committed a while ago. I mean, heck, they may land a potential 5-star in the next year's class too. So don't sleep on.
Well, yes, there's a transfer portal that we know that he'll be active in, and probably pick up 2 or 3 guys that in there pretty easily. So, I mean, there will be no shortage of weapons. It is, again, Herman used to stack receivers, but bigger, taller guys. He's stacking Sarkisian stacking receivers of the smaller but faster frame, and there will be no shortage of speed guys for Arch to throw to when the opportunity comes. And again, there'll be some defensive players that they actually get added to. Was there a super chat that needed to get in there, Catch?
Well, I had it up there. It was just someone supporting the channel.
Okay.
But it keeps on getting knocked off for some reason.
Yeah.
Try one more time. There we go. Appreciate you, my man. I don't know why that keeps happening.
Well,
it's just sports. Maybe that's his question, right? It's just sports is doing the super channel.
Yeah, I got you.
And this is his question.
I don't know, Jason. Who do you think? Who's next? Malik? I've got 5 of them written.
Yeah. Malik Muhammad is probably looking at an August announcement, is what I'm hearing. Anthony Hill, I mean, it could be July, it could be August. I'm guessing August with Anthony. Doesn't, I talked to his dad.
It is the 29th for the record.
Yeah. Well, I would think late July because both those dudes probably are going to visit A&M in late July. I think maybe August. I mean, Cedric Baxter has an August 10th commitment date. So if I'm guessing right now, and fans aren't going to like hearing this, I mean, we're talking about Johntay Cook and they already want the next commitment, right? But I don't know that Texas necessarily gets another one until August. I think August could be a big month. And I say that, and probably somebody will pop in July, but I think Cedric Baxter might be the next one on my kind of mental calendar in terms of actually having a commitment date ready. I mean, in the first week, I guess second week of August, Cedric Baxter is supposed to announce, but there's a good chance that Texas gets all these guys I'm talking about: Malik Muhammad, Anthony Hill, Cedric Baxter. It's kind of harder to predict the when sometimes than the who. So we're on high alert, man. Right, like you said, Ketch. We've got stories written on a lot of these dudes in case something pops.
You're forgetting what Anwar told us in Slack earlier today.
Oh, there's
so we need to be on the watch for a couple of defensive guys coming up.
I don't know who, because
I think Shelby. I think Braylon
Shelby
Shelby's the guy to keep an eye on.
Shelby could have you're right. I totally forgot what Anwar said. Shelby's a guy that he maybe moved his. Yeah, Anwar, you don't count. Maybe Shelby moved his timeline up, but he wasn't planning on it. Gillette, his timeline's supposed to be August, so maybe they grab one of these defensive linemen. I mean,
what about David Hicks?
No, you know what? I don't. That would shock me. That'd be the shocker of all shocks if he committed this early. And honestly, if he committed to Texas, I'll just put this out there in War Room teaser, if you will. I mean, War Room's not for 36 hours away. But I checked in with his dad yesterday, and there's a lot of hubbub about Hicks and Arch Manning and how it affects him, and might he jump on board, and not to be a Debbie Downer on what should be an all positive video here, but his dad basically said, hey, that's awesome for Texas. We love Texas. We love Bo Davis. But the Arch thing really didn't change anything for them. If they end up picking Texas, or if DJ Hicks ends up picking Texas, his dad basically said it won't be because of Arch. It'll be because the recruiting efforts the staff has done. So, and there's a lot of guys that could pop go back and answer that question, but the timing of them is kind of hard to pin down. But we have a pretty good feeling it's who's coming. It's just hard to pinpoint when they're coming. Kind of like it was with Johntay. I mean, I was sitting around Monday. I never left my computer Monday because I thought, well, he told me it was going to happen Monday. And, sometimes you just got to kind of wait for them to do it on their own terms.
And I think a guy like Mikael Harrison-Pilot probably should be mentioned. He visits Cal last weekend, right? And I think everybody that I've talked to is expected that he's going to be in this class. I've heard a lot of, let me put it like this, he may or may not have a commitment analysis piece already written just in case and when that pops. And that could be soon. It could not be soon. But he's definitely a guy that I would keep an eye on.
He's always said he's going to wait, but man, things are changing, right? I mean, by the hour. I mean, so guys' timelines are getting moved up. I mean, everybody wants to. There's kind of like, hey, you better get on board or you might lose your spot. I mean, that is a thought that some guys are having. So you're right, Ketch. I mean, Harrison-Pilot has always said he's going to take his time, but dude, the way things are going right now, I mean, some guys might have to move up their timeline just to have a spot. So
exactly. I think that's as important as anything that's been said on the show so far today. That point makes answering the question of like, who's next difficult, because some of these guys might be hearing right now, don't hold out so long that when the music stops you don't have a chair. Once you get up to 17 commitments, it's fair to start saying stuff like that. Super chat question, and this is a good one. What will Quinn and Arch need to accomplish at Texas for them to be considered Texas legends like Vince, Ricky, Earl, and Colt?
I'll jump in first, and I would say multiple conference championships. And I get it, moving to the SEC is going to affect that, but you've almost got to. I mean, you're talking Heisman finalists, national championship winners, or Heisman winners. I'm sorry, Heisman finalists, national championships winners.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so I mean, I think they've got to obviously play at a high level, probably be Heisman finalists, and I would say multiple conference championships. And if you win your conference championship, even in the Big 12 and certainly in the SEC, you're going to be in position to compete for a national championship. So if they can accomplish those two things, Heisman finalists, conference champions, then they've got a chance to be
conference champions. Get you on the James Brown level. You have to.
That was different. Play for national championship. I don't know, man. That was a Southwest Conference. That was before the playoff. I mean, I'm
just saying you have to play for a national championship, and it kind of depends on your position, right? Because Ricky and Earl didn't play for, national championships, but they won Heismans. When you look at both Colt and Vince, one won a national championship, finished as a runner-up to the Heisman. Colt played for a national championship, finished with runner-up behind Tebow in 2008, and I guess was involved in 2009 as well, two-time finalist. So, it's a high bar. It's a high bar. But you know what, Jason, to your point, Texas has been so bad for so long and if it was in the SEC, that's another wild card.
Yeah.
If Arch wins the first SEC championship of the Texas-Oklahoma era, that will be seen, I think, as a conference title and really rarefied air.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And hey guys, I know I hopped on late, and I'm gonna hop off early. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you two bring this home. I got some family stuff going on in the background I need to deal with. So
in other words, you got to go to the bathroom. That's okay.
No.
I
I mean, I got a sick kid I just discovered right before I came on here. So terrible timing. But yeah, we're supposed to start vacation. Might as well say it now. End of next week, and my son just tested positive for COVID, and my other kids are just waking up. So I got to tell them, like, stay the hell away from Zachary, and he's just I got to lay down the ball. Yeah, so I'll let you guys bring this one home so I can go get my kids straightened out and tell them to stay the hell away from each other for a few days. So,
Anwar, I know that we've got a lot of people in here. I kind of need to wrap this thing up as well. Any final comments on Johntay Cook?
Yeah, I have two final comments. First of all, on Cook. Again, a good get for Sarkisian, like all the things that we've said about him, what he brings to the table, what he brings to his recruiting class. And, one thing that, can't go unsaid is that he brings excitement to the recruiting class. Like Arch Manning brings excitement to the recruiting class. But when you start talking about the names and Johntay having that name and Arch having that name, that helps a lot, right? So him bringing that and keeping that momentum going cannot be understated enough.
Got to have some Pied Pipers.
Yes, and he's a Pied Piper, and he's a guy that it will move the needle when it comes to recruits. Second thing, for all those who are enjoying the show, Drunk Uncle returns tonight, Wednesday evening, tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. Special guest will be Andy Staples from The Athletic. So make sure you guys have been asking for the Drunk Unk. The Drunk Unk is coming back Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. Colby Harris, you be there. Everybody else, you be there. I want to see you there, 6 p.m. tonight. Drunk Uncle returns.
I think that what I would stress about, Johntay Cook, the final thing I would say is I would just really stress what kind of level of athlete and player that we're talking about. There are guys that will be in this recruiting class that might have a 10 to 15% chance of being drafted. And the numbers show that Johntay Cook is the type of talent that will arrive with, better than a 10% chance of being a first-round pick. There are levels to this thing. Sometimes it's about, can a guy be good enough to play on Sundays? I look at Johntay Cook, and it's like, can he be good enough to be an NFL first-round draft pick? And that's the type of talent that wins SEC championships in due time once Texas is there. And with a guy like Cook, you would say in his career he'll be playing in the SEC. A little bit of a different conversation piece than we've had in previous years. These guys, the Arch Mannings and the Johntay Cooks of the world, are going to be there for that. And Texas is going to need every bit of them. Guys, do us a solid. Like the video.
Catch, before you go,
Yes.
There's been multiple people asking, what is the war room?
Well.
Dylan's asked this, and then we got Dre also on the sides in the chat is asking what the war room is. Just didn't want you to miss out on an opportunity to promote Orange Bloods.
More than 20 years ago, almost 25 years ago, I started the concept behind an article idea called the War Room. And it's a little different now because the world's just different, but it's kind of our insider column. For instance, I already know that one of the things that'll be and we run it once a week, Thursday nights. Alex has already talked with a number of high school coaches from around the state to get their thoughts on a number of the commitments in this class. Some of the comments are really fascinating, talking about these commitments that have just come in. That's our once a week article. Basically, everybody in the industry copies the idea and they just call it something else. But many moons ago, it was the article that changed the industry, and it's still one of the heartbeats of the Orange Blood subscription. We have, if you're asking what the War Room is, you're not on Orange Bloods. You need to take advantage of the little bar above our heads OrangeBloods.com, free until August. Take a taste. Promo code ARCH. And if we can win you in the dead season, think about how much fun it'll be to be on Orange Bloods during the regular season. Go take a spin on the best message board in the industry. And I realize it's 2022, and a lot of you are like, message boards? What the hell's a message board? It's a thing that 20 years ago was really, really big, and we've been able, with an unbelievable community, been able to make it the best in the business. We have competition that has good information. Nobody beats our message board within like 100-foot pole. So you get the war room on the message board. Check it out, orangebloods.com. Use that promo code ARCH. See what the fuss is all about. Like Anwar and I don't just do videos. We do a lot more beyond that. So
a lot of inside stuff. A lot of inside stuff that you think you're getting information off of Twitter and social media and all that type. This is for the insiders. This is for the people who are truly dedicated to their team and want to know the nuts and bolts of what's going on from recruiting, team stuff, workouts, everything like that. So if you're just satisfied with surface info, it's fine. If you want to go behind and know more about it, use this promo code, then all of a sudden get that. And then because Ketchum talking about the message board is a community. It's the largest
article that everybody reads and talks about.
Yeah.
Everybody reads and talks about it every single week. It's kind of what makes us a little bit different, but I have to admit, you have to see it to believe it. You got to check it out to fully know what it is that we're talking about. All right. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Orange Bloods. I realize I'm asking for a lot today, and come back in a few hours later tonight. Your Drunk Uncle with Anwar Richardson right here on the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. You guys be good to each other.